Greetings, creepy doll. I'm Benthelooney, and welcome back to Oktoberfest. Sorry for all the screaming. It's just that I finished watching quite possibly the scariest movie I've ever seen. Okay, the second scariest. It's a movie by Aaron Seltzer and Jason Friedberg, the guys who make parody movies even though they haven't a clue on what parody is. It's none other than Disaster Movie, which is so bad that's considered one of the worst movies of all time. Judging by the title, it's supposed to be a parody of disaster movies. Yeah, like that's never been done before. Anyway, I know this isn't a horror movie, but so trucked up it might as well be. Get ready to become immune to fear. Here is my review of Disaster Movie. So, it starts out with a spoof of 10,000 BC. Don't remember that movie? Well, don't feel bad. Nobody does. Anyway, we see a caveman running from something. My best guess would be he's running from the directors. So, the caveman keeps running until he runs into an American Gladiator spoof, and he does a mini fight with the Gladiator, and the caveman proceeds to run. In case you were wondering, you were supposed to laugh at that. However, if you didn't, congratulations! You have a brain. So, the caveman keeps running, and then he runs into Amy Winehouse. Now, this is Seltzerberg's style of comedy. They think things from pop culture appearing out of nowhere is funny. Can you think of anything else that does that? Must avoid obvious Family Guy joke. So, Amy Winehouse tells the caveman that the world is going to end on a specific date. Amy then chugs a whole bottle of alcohol and belches on the caveman for half a minute. Seltzerberg, when your sense of humor is that of a 5-year-old kindergartner, I think that's a good indication that you should have majored in nursing instead. We then cut to the present when our main character, Will, wakes up in his bed. He nudges to wake up his girlfriend, but instead, Flava Flav wakes up in his bed. Okay, so it's Flava Flav. What's the joke? Flav runs out of bed and Will begins to talk to his girlfriend. And the girlfriend decides to leave him, and she takes a dwarf with her. I guess dwarves are funny. Oh wait, no they're not! Would it kill you to write actual humor, you mutated toenails of the Zucker brothers? We then cut to Will's Sweet 16 party. Will mingles with different people, and he runs into Dr. Phil. Ah! These pop culture references are starting to scare me. We then cut to a prank being committed by a parody of Anton from No Country for Old Men. He flips a coin, and he kills a guy who's sleeping. Yeah, this movie just lives in a realm of Seltzerberg's other movies that I call Random Land. In Random Land, wherever you want to appear can appear. All of your favorite people can pop up, just like that. In that case, I would really love to see Groucho Marx right now. Dang. Anyway, we see two people who are spoofs of the main characters from Superbad trying to steal alcohol. It's then we see our other main characters, Calvin and Lisa, played by a Kardashian! Make it go away! Anyway, Lisa, you know what? What's the point of even calling the character by her name? It's just Kim Kardashian being herself. So, Kim tells Calvin to stop the guys from stealing the alcohol. Then, all of a sudden, Carmen Electra walks in and gets in a wrestling match with Kim. You know, I'm starting to figure out how Seltzerberg work. I think they just write a bunch of bad jokes on paper, and then they build a movie around them. Well, if you know anything about comedy and filmmaking, that's a horrible idea! The best jokes come from characters, fully developed characters that we know from the inside out. The humor comes from the characters being put in situations that their personalities can react to. That turns out being easy for comedy writers because the jokes will practically write themselves. But, of course, Seltzerberg thinks that comedy means throwing in a bunch of random things and pop culture references that won't even be relevant 2 weeks after the movie's release. But, let me put this in terms that you would understand, Seltzerberg. You guys suck at funny! Anyway, that wrestling match turns out being a fantasy. You know what that means? It was there for the sheer purpose of... No, that's not even worthy of the angelic choir. Anyway, for those of you who've always wanted to see a wrestling match between Kim Kardashian and Carmen Electra, I hope the two of you are satisfied. So, Calvin sees that Will is down in the dumps, and he has an idea to cheer him up. We then enter your nightmares for the rest of your life as a parody of the chorus from High School Musical comes in and sings a song. Oh my god. I think High School Musical had anything worth spoofing in it. The horror! The horror! That's right, the chorus just sings a song. It's not even a funny song, it's just a song. Well, if it's supposed to be funny, it isn't. Anyway, during the song that's gonna haunt me, we see Junie, a parody of Juno, holding a cheeseburger phone. And it cuts back to the singing. Okay, what the truck was that about? Anyway, if you thought the parody of High School Musical was scary, then you might want to turn away. That's right, a Justin Timberlake spoof comes in and sings. Oh, yeah, everybody knows who Justin Timberlake is. He was the lead singer of Hanson, right? And then Jessica Simpson comes in and sings. Oh my god, the anti-humor is killing me! What is so trucking funny about celebrities? Honestly! Screw Random Land! Unless it wants to make Tex Avery and Jay Ward show up at my house. Dang. Anyway, High School Musical chorus keeps causing my ears to bleed until an earthquake happens, and it shuts them up. Thank you, Earthquake. You're my favorite character in this whole movie. The characters watch the news, and the news says that a disaster is occurring. Yeah, it's called the release of this movie. Run for your lives before it comes to a theater near you! Anyway, the next scene isn't important to the plot, but I have to bring it up. So, the Junie character is parodying Juno's clever sense of humor. Ain't Seltzerberg cute? They think they're being funny by making fun of a movie that's actually funny. So, Junie zings a half-naked guy, and the guy proceeds to say, I have no idea what you're saying. That's Seltzerberg's movie summed up in one sentence. Nobody knows what kind of jokes they're going for, nobody knows what their spoofs of celebrities are supposed to be, and nobody knows what goes on in their minds. Isn't it nice when bad movies sum themselves up for us? So, a meteor shower starts and everybody panics. The characters then run outside to find shelter. You were just in shelter. And one of the meteors crushes Hannah Montana. Ah! Well, actually, this isn't as scary as the real one. Anyway, while Hannah Montana's dying, she proceeds to keep plugging merchandise. Okay, I hate to admit this, but this would have actually been funny. But Seltzerberg breaks another comedy sin by dragging this scene on longer than needed. Yep, just when you think Hannah Montana's going to die, she gets right back up and keeps plugging merchandise. Okay, we get it. Hannah Montana was a cash cow by Disney. Please move on. Nope, they keep doing it. Okay, you're buying off more than you can chew. Please move on. So finally, Hannah dies. But her wig falls off and she turns out being Miley Cyrus, who plugs more merchandise. Seltzerberg, it's what... Get that childhood murdering picture off of me. Thank you. Anyway, Seltzerberg, it's one thing you don't know how comedy works, but you guys just feel as human beings! You guys have the mental capacities of two escaped mental patients! No, actually, the mental patients are smarter than you! I bet you don't even know you're making movies! You're just making a bunch of unfunny YouTube videos made with unfunny jokes and shoving them all together! Yeah, I guess that's called filmmaking these days! You guys suck! You have no talent at all! You can't write! You can't direct! You can't produce! You can't create! You can't tell jokes! And I mean funny jokes! Not jokes I don't even know what the truck you're going for! I wouldn't be surprised if you guys also sucked at being coffee boys for talented directors! The fact you guys have careers is baffling! How do you manage to make money? Well, I guess it's easy when you're using rocks to pay for them, so even if you make 5 cents, you're still making a profit. So, do us a favor, Seltzerberg. Take your dang unfunny jokes, your dang unfunny ideas, dig yourselves in a dang hole and bury yourselves in it so you two can be together for the rest of existence. Because it seems the only people who are laughing at your movies are yourselves. So stay locked away from the rest of society so we don't have to deal with you two anymore. So anyway, it then shows a drunk Hancock laying on the bench, and he's asked by a kid to save the day. So he proceeds to fly up in the air, hit a light post, and he falls back to the ground. Way to even fail at one of the simplest forms of comedy, Seltzerberg. I could sure use Bugs Bunny's help to explain how slapstick can work. Dang. So, the main characters find refuge in an abandoned building, and a spoof of the ladies from Sex and the City appear. Oh, goody! I wonder if they're gonna make a joke about Sarah Jessica Parker being ugly. Ah, they do! How foolish of me to think that they were gonna try to make their own original joke, instead of making a joke that everybody else has made! God, this comedy is lazy! See, one of the main reasons I can't stand pop culture references is if they're making fun of a celebrity that everybody else has made fun of, you're just going to hear the same jokes over and over and over and over and over again! This is a comedian's easy way out when it comes to the same jokes, even if they're not talented enough to come up with their own material. Anyway, Junie and Sarah Jessica Parker spoof get in a fight. Mindless violence still isn't funny, Seltzerberg. It lacks the build-up and timing of slapstick humor that makes it work. Oh, right. Duh, people hitting each other ain't funny if it's random. Anyway, skipping through unfunny jokes, the movie then shows a spoof of the film Jumper, which turns out being a fantasy by Will. Yeah, that's how forced these pop culture jokes have gotten. Seltzerberg doesn't care if they don't have any purpose to the plot. They're just shoving them in because... I don't even know. I would have better luck breaking into Fort Knox than I would finding out what goes on in Seltzerberg's mind. Anyway, the characters keep running. Will is called by his girlfriend, and Kim Kardashian is crushed by a meteor. Yay! Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. How heartless of me. What I meant to say was, yes! Oh, thank God! Ding dong, the witch is dead. Hail Dorothy! Anyway, the princess from Enchanted comes out of a sewer. Now, this is funny because Enchanted came out in 2007. Oh, sorry, I just thought of actual humor. Actual humor that can be provided by Stan Laurel! Dang. Anyway, the princess meets up with the main characters and joins them. The prince then comes out of the sewer, and he accuses Kelva of trying to take the princess away from him. So, they settled their dispute by competing in a dance contest. Now, of course, this appeals to me because I've seen Step Up. Oh wait, no I haven't. But I can't say that if I did see Step Up, I still wouldn't find this trucking funny! Anyway, the prince is beaten in the contest, and he goes back in the sewer. A tornado appears and the characters cling onto a tree to survive. The princess then says that they need a hero, and Iron Man appears. A cow then proceeds to land on him. Okay, that wasn't funny. Then Hellboy appears, and a cow lands on him. Okay, that wasn't funny either. Then the Hulk appears, and his pants are ripped off. Well, that wasn't funny, but at least there wasn't a cow, and a cow lands on him. Okay, did I just see that? Did I just see them do the same unfunny joke 3 times in a row? My McKimson Seltzerberg, have you no idea of the art of filmmaking? Have you no passion for humor? Are you guys so focused on shoving in lazy pop culture jokes, poorly executed slapstick, and whatever the truck that hamburger phone was to actually take time and effort into making films that actually work? Sure, you make these movies as cheap as possible so you can make as much money off of them as possible, but do you hate the profession you're in so much that you can't be inspired to contribute something noteworthy to it? Look into your hearts. There is more to comedy movies than just making money. The best artists don't make what movie studios and drunk college students want to see. They make what they want to see. They love what they do, and they add what they love into their work, putting their own footprints into the world of entertainment. So, what I'm trying to say is... Oh, right, Seltzerberg. Duh, you guys suck at what you do. Stop bumming money that you use to make your movies off of hard-working people and find jobs that you're actually good at! Anyway, the characters manage to make it into a building. Oh, gee, I wonder what 2000 reference they're going to run into in this building. Why, it's none other than... Excuse me. Alvin and the Chipmunks then start to sing. Well, I'm already deaf from the High School Musical spoof, so I'm not affected by the Chipmunks. Anyway, the Chipmunks then turn demonic and start to attack the characters. I always knew those Chipmunks were evil, but nobody ever believed me. They will pay with their blood. Anyway, after more unfunny slapstick, they trap the Chipmunks in trash cans. Oh, by the way, Chipmunks killed Junie. Yeah, I didn't care either. So, the characters keep running and they run into Batman, who adds absolutely nothing to the so-called plot of this movie, and the characters need a car to get to the museum to save Will's girlfriend. They then see Speed Racer, and the princess proceeds to shoot him. The characters then open the trunk and see Michael Jackson inside of it with the kid. Truck you, Seltzerberg. You know, I have a sense of humor, and I believe in using comedy to make situations better, but there are some lines you just don't cross. It really hurts me to actually get offended by comedy, because that means people are going to say, take a joke. Well, if I don't find the joke funny, then I don't have to take it. Especially an old joke like Michael Jackson being a child molester. Like, clamp it! The jokes on the back of Laffy Taffy wrappers are funnier than the jokes in this movie! Anyway, the characters use Speed Racer's car to get to the museum, and they save Will's girlfriend, Amy. They now have to put the crystal skull on an altar to stop the disaster. Why are we just now hearing about it? Because they had to shove in an Indiana Jones reference. So, Will and Amy run to the altar, and they're stopped by a naked Beowulf. Will proceeds to make a bunch of gay jokes to Beowulf. When all else fails, go for the gay jokes. It's not like gays have any feelings, right? Also, seeing Beowulf in this movie reminded me to say something. Kids, read books. For the love of all things sacred, read books. Meanwhile, Calvin and the princess are stopped by Po from Kung Fu Panda. I sense a poorly executed and unfunny fight scene! After the fight, Calvin kisses the princess, who turns out being a man, and Po kills the both of them. After Will fights with Beowulf, he and Amy make it to the altar where a dwarf dressed as Indiana Jones is there. He takes the skull and he says that he's Will's father. Oh, wow! That's who Will's father is! It's a good thing they resolved that dilemma that never existed in this movie. Seriously, what was the point of that? So, the dwarf tries to put the skull back, but he swings out of a window, leaving Will to do it. Afterwards, Amy and Will have a love guru wedding. So, how do you end a movie that doesn't feel like a movie? Just a series of unfunny pop culture references were pasted together? Why, how about a song where every single one of the pop culture references sings about how they're all dating each other? I'm not kidding. Every one of the pop culture references you had to survive through come up once again as if to say, hey, if you didn't think we were funny the first time, you're probably not going to think we were funny the second time, but screw you, here we are. I bet you regret spending money to see this movie. What a big middle finger from Seltzerberg. Well, I bet you're wondering what I thought of this movie. Well, it taught me something. Something spiritual. Something amazing. Something that makes me appreciate everything I have. Something that makes me happy to be alive to know that I have it easy. And that thing is that this movie trucking sucks! If you were to tape a video camera to a blind otter, I guarantee that otter would film something that is actually comedic gold compared to this horrible movie. There are no jokes, just references. The characters are just there. The satire isn't even satire. And above all else, it's stupid, 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 stupid! However, I have to admit, this film does live up to its title. It also embarrasses me that this movie was produced in America, and it almost makes me want to move to Pottsylvania. Anyway, believe it or not, there are going to be people out there who are going to defend this movie, saying that it's a spoof movie, it's supposed to be stupid. Your naivete of how satire works is both funny and sad at the same time.
Welcome to Ben Reviews, and when I was a kid, egging somebody's house was considered kiddie fun, not vandalism. As we continue Oktoberfest, it's time for me to do negative things towards Halloween-related things. So, let's talk about the Twilight series. It trucking sucks. Why? Because it took vampires, who for centuries were seen as evil, monstrous, dark, cunning, and mysterious, and made them hairspray-addicted, sparkling love machines that cater to preteen girls who the closest they'll ever get to real love is getting paper cuts for licking pictures of Robert Pattinson. However, for some odd reason, the Twilight series has become hugely popular among said preteen girls who are too lazy to look at a magazine of male pinup models. So, it makes sense the parodies of the series would eventually be made. So, it makes perfect sense that parodies of this series would eventually be made. And there was a spoof movie made of it. Oh goody, if this is in the right hands, like Mel Brooks or Zucker Abrams and Zucker, then this will be hilarious. Oh, truck my life! These guys directed it? Who keeps giving these guys money to make crappy spoof movies? Who? Who? Well, this is going to be painful. Wait, let me get this straight. I'm reviewing a movie that thinks it's a comedy that's pairing a movie that thinks it's romantic. What does that have to do with Halloween? Well, it's about vampires, and vampires are associated with Halloween, so I guess it works. Anyway, get ready to think the Twilight movies aren't as bad. Here is my review of Vampires Suck. So, we start off with a parody of the near ending of New Moon, where Bella, her name's Becca in this movie, is trying to stop Edward from exposing his sparkling body to a mass of people. However, as Becca's trying to stop Edward, a war breaks out between Edward and Jacob fans, so Becca has to jump over and fight. Wait a minute! A fight between Edward and Jacob fans breaks out? The truck? Okay, so this movie is parodying a movie series, but it's also parodying the fans of the movie series it's parodying? How the truck does that work? When you spoof a movie, you don't spoof the fans, you spoof the movie, you trucking idiots! The fans have nothing to do with the movie itself. They're just fans! Oh my gosh! We're only 2 minutes in and this movie is already hurting my head with how moronic it is. However, this movie is just under 80 minutes. So there's more to come. There's more to come. So, it cuts to the beginning of the first Twilight movie as Becca is riding in the car with her dad, Frank, who's played by Diedrich, what are you doing? Are you this desperate for work that you have to be in a low-budget spoof movie? You were in the Drew Carey show. You deserve better than this. Anyway, Becca rides around in the car, and it shows that there are vampires running all around the town of Sporks. Okay, this is where these spoof movies fail. Their jokes are over-exaggerated. When it comes to satire, exaggeration is one of the main aspects that makes satires work. But you can't go too far with it, otherwise it gets ridiculous and unfunny. This is a perfect example of how these guys take exaggeration too far as they try to claim that Forks in the Twilight movies was completely populated by vampires. Even the name of the school sports team are the Sporks Bloodsuckers. Subtle, isn't it? Anyway, Frank takes Becca to his house and shows her her room, which has a bunch of baby stuff all over it. Again, over-exaggerating. The dad wasn't that overprotective of Bella in the Twilight movies. He even puts a binky on her mouth and carries her outside in one of those baby holders that moms put around their chests. Once again, great subtlety. So, Becca meets Jacob and Jacob's dad, as Frank and Jacob's dad break into an unnecessary fight in the background. This is where the spoof movies done by Seltzerberg fail too. Unfunny slapstick! Again, slapstick is my favorite type of comedy, but when it lacks timing, execution, and goes on forever, it's just not funny. Watch the Three Stooges and Looney Tunes cartoons to know how to make slapstick work, you friggin' morons! So, Becca goes to school and gets picked on because she's the new kid. This is the closest this movie gets to a funny joke, but misses the mark completely. In Twilight, Bella was well respected even though she was the new kid at the school. That's one of the faults of that movie. However, they do the exact opposite in this one, so it doesn't come off as being funny, just not making any sense. When it comes to spoofing, you don't do the exact opposite of what you're making fun of, you comedically mimic it in some way. Like I said, they were so close, but so far. So, Becca instantly makes new friends, contradicting the joke they were trying to make earlier as she sits down in the lunchroom and the Solons walk in. And make out with each other. Incest is supposed to be funny, right? Well, it's not. So, when science class comes around, Becca has to sit down with Edward. In the midst of some unfunny dialogue, Becca says that she doesn't like cold, wet things. Edward then replies, "Then you must hate Slurpees," and he pulls out a Slurpee and sips it. that's not funny. He's just drinking a Slurpee. There's really no comedic element in that. He's just slurping a Slurpee. Moving on, the three evil vampires meet up with the fishermen, and they say they're hungry. So, the fisherman offers them Cheetos, and the black vampire eats them. Okay, from now on, I'm just going to keep track of all the pop culture references this movie makes. Let's see, that's one. And there was a Jersey Shore reference and a Dear John reference that happened earlier that I didn't mention. And I guess I'll count the Slurpee joke. So, that's up to 4 pop culture jokes. So, the fisherman thinks that the three evil vampires are the Black Eyed Peas. Ding! The fisherman then has a short and unfunny fight scene with the white vampire, and the fisherman is eaten. Back with the unfunny parody of the unintentionally funny relationship, Edward saves Becca from the van that almost hits her by using Becca's Asian friend to cushion the blow. Wow, think of all the comedic possibilities they could have used for this scene, and they blew it on unnecessary slapstick. Afterwards, Becca is narrating to herself, and the girl from Gossip Girl starts to narrate over her. Ding! Frank then tells Becca about the killing of the fisherman, and Frank thinks the Kardashians are behind it. Ding! Come on, movie! You're not even trying! These are the kind of jokes that unfunny internet reviewers make. Anyway, Frank wants to make sure Becca is protected, so he asks her to beat him up, and she proceeds to do so. You know, I would love to keep track of all the pointless slapstick this movie has too, but I don't care for this movie enough. That night, Edward is watching Bella as she sleeps. Oh man, think of all the great comedy they could get out of... Oh, who am I kidding? It's Seltzerberg. So, Becca sleep talks, and she says things that include TiVo Wizards of Waverly Place. Ding! These numbers of pop culture references are going up quicker than an episode of Family Guy. Ding! Hey, that doesn't count. I'm an internet reviewer. I'm not this movie. I have an excuse to make jokes like that. That's better. As this scene ends, Becca farts and causing Edward to fall out of the window. I didn't know they were making this movie for 12-year-olds. The next day, Edward takes Becca to the woods and tells her who he really is. Becca thinks he's a Jonas brother. Ding! Oh, come on, movie! They weren't even famous anymore when this was made. So, Edward says he's a vampire, and Becca holds up a box of Count Chocula. Ding! Now this is a pop culture reference I can enjoy. Hello, favorite character. Becca then drops the box. Goodbye, favorite character. Edward then heads toward the sunlight and prepares to reveal himself. Wow, think of all the comedic... I'm getting my hopes up again, ain't I? So, Edward goes into the sun and reveals his bling. Ding! I'm counting that. Edward then goes on saying what he does as a vampire, saying he only hunts animals and the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Ding! Edward then asks Becca to the prom. That night, Edward goes into Becca's room, and Becca thinks they're going to roleplay, so she puts on an Obama mask. Ding! She soon takes it off as Edward and Becca kiss, but then go a little further. There's nothing else worth mentioning about this scene besides the fact Becca says something about Stephanie Meyer's Twitter page. Ding! I'm counting that as 2 references due to Twitter and Stephanie Meyer. Meanwhile, Frank is pursuing the evil vampires. His pursuit is unsuccessful, as he still thinks it's the Kardashians. Jacob's dad then says he's missing the big picture, and proceeds to hold up a big picture of the evil vampires next to the dead fishermen. I've got nothing. Please continue. So, Edward takes Becca to the Solon house to meet the Solons. Becca then gets a paper cut, and she bleeds in a very over-exaggerated way, causing the Solon family members to go after her. Edward stops the Solons with tanning beds. Just go with it. And in the midst of this, Becca says she never should have partied with Lindsay Lohan. Ding! Not only is that another pop culture reference, but what does that have to do with anything? Becca then rides on Edward's back as Edward's riding a Segway. They talk, and Edward has to go away, so Edward tells Becca not to do anything reckless, and Becca says that she won't date Chris Brown. Ding! Edward rides away, and Becca whines until the bad vampires find her. Becca gets out her pepper spray, and she accidentally sprays Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Ding! Buffy says that she's there to help, and she proceeds to walk away. Yes, I'm going to help you out by not helping you. Seriously, what the truck? So, the bad vampires attack, and Edward comes back all of a sudden and fights off the vampires. Becca was bitten, and Edward sucks out the venom. Wait, since when do vampires have venom? Anyway, he sucks out the venom and leaves again. Okay, this movie's really getting its plot points mixed up when it comes to the series it's trying to parody. Anyway, Becca mopes for months about Edward being gone. To see how full of angst she is, Frank uses an angst detector, and guess what kind of ratings it has on it? That's right, pop culture references! iCarly, ding! One Tree Hill, ding! 16 and Pregnant, ding! And even Becca's own name is on the detector. That doesn't make any amount of sense, especially for a spoof movie, but I don't give a crap because I'm about done with this movie. Frank says that Becca is full of angst more than the secret life of the American teenager. Ding! Which is something that wasn't even listed on the detector. So, Frank proceeds to tell Becca how much she sucks, so Becca goes out with her friend, and they walk by a movie theater that says, Breaking Dawn now playing? The truck? Okay, so let me get this straight. In this own little world you're setting up where you're trying to parody the Twilight series, the Twilight series exists in it? That is freaking stupid! When you're making a spoof movie, you don't make the thing you're spoofing exist in your spoof. That's not how it works. Could you imagine if in Young Frankenstein, Boris Karloff playing the monster actually walked in on Frankenstein and the monster's dance number? No, you couldn't. You know why? Because Young Frankenstein is a good spoof movie, unlike this freaking piece of crap movie that thinks it's funny by making pop culture references, over-exaggerations, pointless slapstick, and using humor that only people with one too many chromosomes would find funny. Oh, and I almost forgot. Ding! So, as they're walking by the theater, Becca's friend spoils the ending of Breaking Dawn, and the Twilight fans waiting outside get mad for being spoiled. Is this movie trying to imply that Twilight fans are idiots? Twilight is a book series as well, so most of the fans of the movies have read the books and already know the ending. You morons. So, Becca eventually starts to hang out with Jacob. They fix a motorcycle together, and she rides on it while singing a song. Edward appears and says, "Stop singing like Taylor Swift." Ding! Skipping ahead, Becca runs into the black vampire, but Jacob and his pack show up and dance to this.
Cable Access, Channel 62 presents Men on Film.
Hello, I'm Blaine Edwards. And I'm Antoine Mayweather. And welcome to Men on Films, the show that looks at movies from a male point of view.
Oh, how I wish I was watching in living color rather than this. So, Jacob's pack have an unfunny dance scene at the tune of that song, and then they kill the black vampire. Becca falls in love with Jacob. Meanwhile, Edward is sitting somewhere and watching The Fly. Ding! That is a great movie, though, that I wish I was watching instead of, oh, you know. So, Rosalind confronts Edward, and Lady Gaga appears out of nowhere. Ding! Hey, remember that scene in The New Moon where Lady Gaga appeared out of nowhere? Probably not, because you probably haven't seen the movie, but I have, and I don't! So, Edward is convinced to be with Becca again. At Becca's house, Jacob is with her, and she asks why he's shirtless. Jacob says that it's in his contract that he has to take off his shirt every 10 minutes. Oh my gosh. We're not idiots, Seltzerberg. You don't have to explain the jokes for us. You could have simply just had Jacob frequently appear without his shirt. It would have been funny by the sheer fact that he appears shirtless in the movies a lot. But, of course, you guys aren't funny, so you have to explain the jokes because the people who watch your movies are so dumb that they need to have the jokes explained to them. So, Edward calls Becca's house, and Jacob says she's dead. So, Edward's going to kill himself. Rosalind picks up Becca, and they go to stop Edward. Edward shows his butt, and everybody laughs. Yeah, because butts are funny all of a sudden. And what follows is a bunch of unfunny fight and dance scenes with a Slim Jim joke thrown in there. Ding! And it ends with Edward eventually biting Becca. Wow, folks. Just wow. Never could I think a spoof of Twilight could fail so much as this movie does. Again, it's Seltzerberg. They don't try to be clever, subtle, or funny. They just throw in pop culture references that aren't funny now, and they're not going to be funny 2 years from now, pointless slapstick that makes me feel bad that I love slapstick, and jokes that take over-exaggeration to a new level. There are so many missed opportunities with how some of these jokes could have been played out in this movie. But again, it's freaking Seltzerberg! So, I really don't think I have to tell my fans this, but don't waste your time with this piece of crap Twilight parody. You're better off just watching the movies by themselves. Though I won't recommend that either because they suck too.